Good morning, almighty ones. Let me share with you something interesting. Ecclesiastes 5:19. When God gives any man wealth and possessions and enables him to enjoy them, to accept his lot and be happy in his work, this is a gift of God. I'd also like to read Ecclesiastes 6:2, which Solomon wrote along the same lines. A man to whom God has given riches, wealth, and honor, so that he wants nothing for his soul of all that he desires, but God gives him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eats it. This is vanity. It is an evil disease. A.W. Tozer once said, God may allow his servants to succeed when he has disciplined him to the point where he does not need to succeed to be happy. Another way of putting that, God may make you prosperous and wealthy when you've been disciplined to the point where you don't need to be wealthy and successful. And then you have Tavia from Fiddler on the Roof, who said, money a curse? Might I be afflicted and never recover? They say the odds of winning the lottery are 18 million to 1. Even if you beat those odds, you face another obstacle. God has to empower you to enjoy your winnings. The word empower is this one right here. It's in the root word shalat. This hay creates a hifil form for the verb. That's causative. In other words, he will cause you to have the power to eat. And that simply means to consume, to enjoy, let it become a part of you. He will cause you to enjoy it, to have the power to eat it, to absorb it. Without God, you're not going to enjoy your wealth. We've all heard stories of people who come into sudden riches, and they say that their lives are worse off than when they were rich. They were better off poor. Well, the reason is that their riches dominated them, or that's the word shalat, overpowered them, empowered them, rather than they dominating their riches. Yet we learn that not riches, but the ability to enjoy riches is the gift from God. The gift from God is to enjoy the riches and not be dominated by those riches. Now, the word gift, Solomon uses that quite a bit. And here we have it down here. This is actually a preposition in front of the word. But the word itself comes from the root word nathan, which is a word for giving. The word in its root form is spelled nun, tall, noon. It's spelled the same way backwards and forwards. So in other words, its picture is circular. When you give, you receive in return. And what you receive in return, you give out again, creating a circle of sharing, of giving. To the person who is not empowered or shalat by God and is not given, or nathan, the gift, he won't enjoy his riches. It'll be a vanity. There's the word vanity that really intrigues me because it's the word havel. And yeah, it's not here. It's in another verse. He uses the word vanity a lot throughout the book of Ecclesiastes. And the word vanity is havel, which means worthless, of no value. Actually, a more definitive meaning is illusion. Without the gift of God for happiness with one's wealth or prosperity is nothing but an illusion. I remember when I took an economics class, I was really struggling to understand the whole concept of our economy until one professor put it in terms I could understand. He said, our whole economy is just an illusion. It is in the Hebrew havel. You take all the United States currency that is in existence today, it'll come to about a $500 billion. That's all your paper money, your coins. $500 billion. Oh, that's a lot of money. But when you compare it to our $28.5 trillion debt, that's nothing. You know, a $500 billion compared to 28.5 trillion. So where are all those trillions of dollars? Not only that, where is the 1.5 trillion that was used in bailout money? Where'd that come from? Well, the Federal Reserve created it. The same people, it seems, who have a problem believing in a God who created a world out of nothing, have no problem believing a Federal Reserve can create $3.5 trillion out of nothing, which is the bill they're trying to get through Congress now. My economics professor would say, well, look at the Chicago skyline. Look at all those beautiful buildings, massive, huge buildings. You realize how much all that is worth? You know, there's your evidence of a few $1 trillion. Okay, I say, well, look at the Grand Canyon. Look at the complexities of every living thing, the sun, the stars. There you see the evidence of God. You know, it takes just as much faith to believe that you have a certain amount of money in your 401k as it does to believe that God will take care of you. Sure, there are all sorts of laws the Federal Reserve must follow before it plunges new money into the economy, just as God controls our universe with certain laws. I remember my philosophy class where we were studying the search for an absolute. In other words, finding something we could be absolutely sure about. But then we get thinking maybe our whole existence is simply an illusion. Maybe there's some demon creating this illusion that all this is, it's not really real. You know, how do I know that there's anybody even listening to what I'm saying here? How do I know that this computer I'm talking into right now isn't just an illusion? You know, about the time the Pilgrims were landing on Plymouth Rock, there was a French philosopher named Rene Descartes. And he sat at his desk pondering the idea of an absolute. He looked at his desk and he said, well, how can I be sure this desk exists? How do I know I'm just imagining a desk? He wanted to find something he could be absolutely sure about. After about 3.5 years of blowing his brain on all this, he finally realized the only thing he could be sure about was he couldn't be sure about anything. Well, there was one thing he could be sure about, and that came the famous quote, which is the fundamental element of Western philosophy, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. The very fact you are thinking proves that at least there is one existence, you. We can't be sure that anything else exists, that everything else maybe is just an illusion. As I studied the various philosophers of empiricist thinking, such as Locke, Spinoza, Leibniz, Berkeley, Rousseau, Albright, I found it drove me closer to a belief in God rather than away from it. If this world is an illusion or we're living in some sort of matrix, then I can't really control the illusion. I can't make myself rich or healthy. Some believe, like Christian Science, that you can. I believe if this world is indeed an illusion, then there must be somebody who can control that illusion. You know, you have scientists who say we really live in a matrix, a computer program, and there's some out there in space off some off planet, some pimple-faced teenage computer geek who has created this program of Earth and all of us in it. And that with just a push of one finger, he can delete the whole thing. There are prestigious scientists who believe that. Well, I, for one, believe that the master in control is God. He can create any illusion. He can give you wealth, or he can make you poor. If you are rich and find happiness in that wealth, it's only an illusion of happiness. That brings me back to Ecclesiastes in verses 5:19 and 6:2. where Solomon addresses the concept of wealth. Now, he obviously knows what he's talking about. He was the wealthiest man who ever lived. If anybody should know anything about wealth and the joy and happiness it brings, it should be Solomon. And yet he called all his wealth just an illusion, vanity, hovel. Yeah, richest man in the world. And to him, all his wealth is simply a hovel, an illusion. God may choose to give you joy in that illusion, but the joy ultimately comes from him, not through the wealth. That can disappear and will disappear overnight. You may just step in front of a bus tonight and suddenly find yourself in the presence of true reality, the presence of God. Your wealth will be gone at that point, and you will have a new wealth and a new existence. Some will say that my belief in God is just an illusion. But from my study of the worldly philosophers, then they also are living in an illusion just like me. So to them, I would say to you, may your illusion, which you consider reality, bring you as much joy and peace as my reality has brought me. Because you know what? I believe my reality is a God who lives inside me, who's with me every moment of the day. And if everything I do is unto him, he will give me that gift to enjoy whatever I have. So as a result, everything I do is unto him.